just saw The Dark Knight. No. We saw Handmaiden, which is it Japanese or Korean?
It had a little bit of both, so I don't know where it originated. It had both languages in it.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's Korean.
Alrighty.
I'm going to guess that it's Korean.
Okay.
And, wow. I mean, rarely can you say that a movie holds no punches and actually
Not at all. It was
believe
great.
it. You can actually believe it, and this one did. I mean, how do I want to? I don't know if I want to give away too much, but if you're thinking about seeing this movie, there's some things you should know. Like you're walking into there's torture,
Tasteful porn.
tastefully done porn, not like it's X-rated, not triple X.
No, not triple X. No.
I mean, if you've seen obviously Game of Thrones, it's basically the same.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a little
bit more nicer, but
The
there's still as
sound
much
quality,
sex in it.
the sound gives away more than the
What you're
visual
seeing.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you can hear what's going on.
But I loved it. Like it's crazy. Like I never see movies that are this crazy.
There's a lot of betrayal, which I liked about it. Good acting. I mean, it was in Japanese and Korean, but I believe the actors, they were all good,
Yeah.
especially the Count. I liked a lot. Both of the female leads. Even the uncle at the end there was really, he ratcheted it up. His performance, like you're like cringing.
I mean, it's sort of like, so it takes place in I guess the 30s.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm gonna say earlier than that.
Earlier than the
Probably.
30s.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And so it's like in Japan and in Korea, and it looks it, right? Like it doesn't look
It's
like
a beautiful looking film, definitely.
unbelievably beautiful, but it doesn't it's like you realize that okay, all the movies that are shot here are like California or
Right.
like Canada. Right? And so you actually really see like this different culture and the scenery and so that was beautiful.
The house, the main house, is half English style and half Japanese style, which I thought was really unique. I love that house.
But I think that played into the role of the story
Yeah.
because you had all these alternating characters that were bringing in something different to the story. And with the house being, you described that he liked it, so that's why he had it built like
Right.
that, And you have these modern things coming in, like with the cars and the lights and the fake stories, the fake manuscripts and stuff like that. And then you have the old world stuff, which is all the nuances and the historical aspect of it. So you
Right.
have this merging of two different styles at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you have to remember the other characters that we don't really think about in the movie played a big role, like the servant in the beginning, the chubby woman.
Yeah.
She basically held everyone back in the beginning.
Yeah.
With the things she did for her master, basically.
Right.
But you don't really realize that she's doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
She's sort of.
And did you like that?
Yeah, I think she added to the mystique.
But she kind of disappeared. Like they really.
She's
There's
really
no closure to her part of the story.
Yeah, but she's really only there, I think, for the lady, for
Yeah.
Hideko, for her imprisonment that she
And
had.
I mean, for me, I really was transported into the world.
Definitely, yeah.
Usually I'm watching these movies, and I think actually reading, because it's a reader, you know what I mean? You get subtitles.
Subtitles.
Subtitle.
And so, as you're reading, you sort of it's almost like you buy it more. Because I was sometimes I'm watching a regular movie and I'm like, oh, this is the dialogue written on the page that I'm hearing right now. It doesn't feel natural.
Yep.
This felt natural, and it was silly a little bit. I mean, there was torture, but it was also silly.
Yeah.
It had a lot of humor, I thought.
Yeah.
Black comedy, very dark humor.
Dark.
We laughed at some things that people shouldn't have probably, but I liked it.
Yeah,
I think the character of the handmaiden, she brought in the humor.
Yeah.
Because at first in the beginning,
a little aloof.
She was aloof, but her own character, where she came from, was sort of crazy, silly,
Right.
and her trying to explain something that's sort of sad came out in a silly way, explaining how her mother passed away.
Yeah, and then there was also an aspect that all of them failed themselves.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they weren't perfectly themselves the whole
No, not
time.
at
There
all.
was all these flaws, just like human beings.
You can't point at one person and say that's the good guy or
Yeah,
good
or
girl
that's the
in this
good girl.
movie because
Right.
they've
They
all
all
got
have
different. They've all got different ambitions, and some run contrary to others' people's happiness. So it's just he's gonna at the end of the movie he's gonna be standing up
And were there any criticisms? I mean, like my only criticism, I guess it would be it's a bit slow.
It does get slow. It's pretty long. It was like 2.5 hours. 2 hours, 40
And
minutes.
I think some of the in the beginning part, you know, when they because it was done in 2 parts and
Three
like
parts.
Three
and like an
parts.
epilogue.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like the 3rd part was pretty short.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
But the first part, after that first part ended, I thought that was the end of the
Me
movie.
too. And then when the second part goes, I go, oh, okay. And then I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta resettle myself. I'm gonna be here for a while.
Yeah. Part 3, you're like, what?
You're like, oh man. Even though it was beautiful and
Yeah.
entertaining and
Yeah.
funny and sexy, I mean, it was sexy. I mean, there was
yeah,
lots of
definitely.
sex going on. But it's always interesting, like watching porn with your friends. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
Really risque. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was rated, but it's like it's definitely be prepared to see some nudity.
It should be rated like NC-17,
Yeah, definitely.
even if it's not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
We're all adults. We're like, you know, it was fine. You know?
It's-
But it's always like you always get that queasy feeling at first. You're like, you
Well-
know, what's going on?
Well, a woman walked out at the very end. You know what I mean? You said you made a comment to me. I think she heard it. And
yeah.
she was like, "Oh, that's gonna happen. I gotta leave here. That's about to happen." And I cannot believe how they ended this movie. Unbelievable
Yeah.
ending. I mean, I can't get into why. I don't want to spoil the ending for
Right.
you, but it was just unbelievable that they would.
You know, it's also interesting in that respect when the 2 main characters leaving and everything. I thought that the handmaiden was the one to dress up
Right.
as a no, but
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Right. Yeah. So they sort of.
They switched places in the end.
Right,
Yeah.
but they subverted expectation. We
Yeah.
should be vague about it a
Yeah.
little, right?
Definitely.
But yeah, that was interesting how they switched that up.
Because in the beginning, there were some personalities that you were noticing. And obviously,
Well, it jumps back.
It jumps back and forth.
Yeah, right. Because it's boom, and then in the second, and then. right.
and then like you know they basically they get courageous in their endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Certain characters become more courageous in their endeavors.
I mean, it was excellent storytelling, right? Because
Yeah.
when the sort of there's surprises throughout, but when the surprise happens, and thinking about the surprise, you realize it's
You don't
perfect.
know who's grifting who. That's what I like. It
Right.
keeps the suspense and the mystery for a long, long time, and you just don't know what's going to happen. To the
Yeah,
very end.
and then there's some special effects work, which were
Yeah.
like, at the end, just like, yeah, we're gonna do some like crazy effects, and they
Yeah.
look great.
Subtle but effective. Like you almost don't know their special effects. They're like that good.
I mean, if I had another complaint, at the end, it gets a little cartoonish. Like the guy in the, you know, at the, I don't want to get into the ending, but
The
the
basement?
guy you said that he sort of, they gave him more to do.
Yeah.
I'm sort of criticizing that,
Yeah.
like, he took it, it got,
All of a sudden he's like very powerful. You know, he can like
he's like, yeah.
search the country for people. You know.
Right.
So I'm like, okay.
And then he's like, oh, tell me about it.
And
Yeah, because he's a creepy old man.
His ultimate goal
He just
was to
wants-
have with this one woman,
He
and the
just
ultimate
wanted
thing,
his
why
story
not?
to
Why not just
continue.
take it when you?
I know.
They're in their home. They're in your home. They're not
No.
going anywhere.
Right.
Why are you asking questions? You know.
He wants his own fantasy to continue.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why
He loves the book.
he loves those books, even if they're not real.
The aesthetic with the black tongue
Oh my
and,
God,
not,
that was so-
and not knowing why at first.
Do you realize though he's just
Right.
like the other guy
Right.
makes fake stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. All right. Well, let's rate this thing. So,
Out of 100.
Yeah,
Out
you
of
want to go?
100?
You want me to go?
Go ahead. What do you
Well,
think?
one of the things I've been thinking about is what does the rating actually mean? Like I'm giving a rating, but what
Yeah.
does that mean?
It's aesthetically pleasing to you and what your mathematical rating is.
Yeah, and it's like, is it like a percentage of the movie that I liked, right? Like if I liked
Yeah.
100% of the movie, then
You like
I
the
give it-
whole everything, even the credits.
Right, right.
We
Then it
didn't
would,
say for that,
It would be
so.
like 100. Right. So for this, I gotta give it like a 90, and the reason why I don't give it a higher score than that is just I felt the length at certain points.
Yeah.
And you know that's part of the enjoyment of a film. I mean, this is like you settle in here.
Yeah.
I mean, you could theoretically this could have been a 3-part miniseries on TV that you could
Definitely.
have sort of
It could have been
Yeah.
even longer.
right and hunkered down
Yeah.
and sort of like stayed
It
in.
had like a Pride and Prejudice kind of like feel, where it's just like it could be chapter after chapter after chapter, intrigue.
I would
after
love to see what
intrigue.
happens at the end with their story of the last 2 people we see. What happens next? Where are they going? First of all,
They're going to Shanghai.
oh, are they? Okay.
Well, Maybe.
Or maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe they'll go to America.
Right.
They want better
San
opportunities.
Francisco.
Right. Well, all right. So.
Okay, go ahead. You gave it a 90?
I gave it a 90 out of 100. I thought one of the best movies I've seen all year, and definitely the most different and unique movie I've seen all year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 85. 80 and above I liked, but 85 I wouldn't watch this again.
No.
90 and above, not only would I watch it again, I'd probably buy the DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I decide things.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely worth the time, worth the money. Interesting story. I would highly recommend. I've got friends who like Korean soap operas,
Yeah.
and I would recommend this highly. It's definitely rated different past from a Korean, because those Korean soap operas are kind of like dynasty, are kind of dynasty, whatever, you know. Well, if they were to see this, I'm not gonna tell them anything. Go see this Korean drama, you like it. I want to see the reactions they get back.
Yeah.
But it's well worth it. I liked it. Good performances, good story. Overly long, I thought, but again, we had no idea where this was going, so I like that. I like that about movies, not knowing how it's going to end up.
I guess speaking as a woman sitting between two guys watching this movie, it was a little hard watching the scenes where I knew that you guys were like, oh, you know, like it was like at a point like where I probably would have watched this movie by myself and I would have given it a higher rating, but knowing that I was sitting between two guys watching it, it made my expectations a little lower. So I'd probably give it like an 87. Like I would definitely watch it again, but by watching it on my own time, I wouldn't watch it with someone else because
Not being creeped out by us.
But yeah, like ooh the balls, whatever. It's like, you know, like there's some things like it can be. I feel like when you're watching a movie where there is like, you know, quote unquote on sex, whatever, it can be uncomfortable when you're watching it with other people.
Oh yeah.
And if you already know about, I already knew about some of the things that were in the movie, so it didn't bother me. But you know, be like what you're saying with the woman in the background, like, like oh come on, you know, that kind of thing.
So what would you give it?
I give it an 87.
87, 85.
90. I gave it the highest score. Now, what I'll be leaving and telling people about this movie is definitely the sex. I mean, that's what I'll be talking. I mean,
There
this
you go.
movie.
That's why.
There is a ton of sex in this movie. All right.
It's sensual, definitely.
All right. Well, thanks for watching the review. Share it. Come watch movies with us.
Definitely.
All right. Love you. Peace.